I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
So, what in the hell happened with Deadpool 2? I'm not gonna say I was a huge fan of the first movie. I thought Deadpool 1 was enjoyable. Not a great movie, certainly not a great film, but it was decent. It was a nice change of pace. It was refreshing. And then we get the sequel. In fact, the sequel was greenlit before Deadpool 1 was even released. And looking in hindsight, kind of a no-brainer. But part of what made the first one so good was, amongst other things, Tim Miller, the director. Deadpool 2, well, he got fired for creative differences with Ryan Reynolds. And it shows. And I would argue that's probably the biggest problem Deadpool 2 has. It had no Tim Miller to keep Ryan Reynolds in check. Alright, let's level. Deadpool 2, as enjoyable as it is a complete mess of a movie. And I'm not saying film here. I know this movie doesn't have lofty aspirations to be great cinematic gold. Nobody's gonna be watching this in 50 years, alright? But as a movie, it's enjoyable. Yes. Until you start asking yourself, why did I enjoy this movie? And then you realize, well, I have no idea, because Deadpool 2 is a mess of a movie. Now, it's not all bad. As I said, it is enjoyable. There are a lot of parts that I genuinely enjoyed. I loved the fact that the bigger budget allowed for more excitement, more energy in the filmmaking. The special effects were cleaner, were louder, were more in your face. The brawling, the fighting was a lot more polished this time around. Didn't look like it had cut corners. And Josh Brolin is fantastic as always. The actor, mind you. The actor is really good. Cable? Well, yeah, I'm kind of done with the good. Let's talk about everything else. Let's face it, everybody who is not Deadpool has virtually nothing to do in this movie. In fact, Colossus is the only other character in the movie that has what might charitably be described as a character arc. Deadpool, yes, he has an arc. He starts in one place, he ends in another place, and it's good. I enjoyed that. I thought that was well done. Colossus has a very similar arc, actually, and I like that. I like that they chose to mirror Deadpool's arc in Colossus to show that they aren't so different. I thought that was fantastic. I thought that was brilliant, especially after how they set up Colossus in the first movie. Everyone else, on the other hand, either has nothing to do in this film or simply does not belong in this movie. Josh Brolin is a fantastic actor, and his acting as Cable is fantastic. The written Cable, however, the character is so one-dimensional, has nothing in the way of backstory, has a few throwaway lines of exposition to explain why he's in this movie. In fact, I'd go so far as to say he doesn't belong in this movie except for the fact that Deadpool 1 set him up. Honestly, I think it would have been a better gag at the end of Deadpool 1 if Cable never appeared. And then Deadpool makes a joke about not being able to afford the rights or something. That would have been funny. Cable, though, is so woefully underdeveloped. Speaking of underdeveloped, there's Domino, who I thought was going to be a huge part of this movie. A huge part of this movie, given the hoopla that was made over her casting and how she appeared in all of the advertisements, the trailers. She was given a prominent role, a prominent position in all of the marketing. There is literally no reason for her to exist in this movie. There is none. She is a completely pointless throwaway character. As is, incidentally, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, who was so freaking cool in the last one. She was one of the highlights for me. I thought that her character, her banter with Deadpool was just terrific. I loved her. In this movie, I love her again. Except that she's not in this movie for any tangible reason. She exists because she was in the last movie. There's no reason to have her. And what little we do get of her is very, very little. Like they knew they had to include her, but then decided, well, we shot a few scenes with her, that's it. Move on to the next scene. Her girlfriend is in this movie for no reason at all, except to set up a few gags. In fact, it's not even a few gags, it's just one gag repeated several times. She says hello, and Deadpool says hello. That's it. In fact, I didn't even get what was funny about it the first time, and I only got that it was supposed to be a joke because it was repeated 4 or 5 times throughout the movie. It's just stupid. Ungodly stupid. The rest of the X-Force, there is literally no reason for the X-Force to be assembled in this movie except to set up the next movie, to set up the X-Force movie. They do not have a role in this. In fact, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, but right after they're assembled, they are finished with this movie. I wish I was kidding, but there is literally no reason for them to exist. Aside from the fact that they set up what is probably one of the funniest scenes in the movie. Except that it renders the assembling of them completely pointless. Spoiler alert. Ooh, hope Lord Heresy doesn't get pissed off at me again. And that's one of the bigger problems with this movie. Not simply that the characters don't have anything to do in this movie, or that they don't exist in this movie for any tangible reason, but that the script, which is all over the place to be perfectly honest, doesn't seem to understand that you need to do more in a movie, any kind of movie, even a comedy like this, than simply set up gags later on. Tim Miller would have cut things down. I think Tim Miller would have seen that certain things worked great on paper, were very funny on paper, were even funny on film, until you put them in the context of the larger movie and realize that all it does is destroy the pacing of this movie. And all for what amounts to a couple of gags that don't always land. Most of the jokes in this movie, honestly, don't really land. I saw this with not a lot of people. I didn't see it opening weekend. I saw it just this past weekend. And the theater wasn't packed, but there were enough people you should have heard people laughing. You did at the first Deadpool. You didn't hear that so much with this one. The last big point, and I've kind of already alluded to this, is the fact that the pacing is just dreadful. This movie, I guess because there was a larger budget, they figured they could stick whatever they wanted to in it because they had time for it. But the pacing is bizarre. The prison sequence is way too long. And within that sequence, there's, spoiler alert, it's a very minor spoiler, Deadpool loses his powers and then gets them back in the span of 5 minutes. It gave me whiplash watching it in the theater. In fact, the whiplash is on the level of 50 Shades Darker, where Christian Grey is lost in the mountains somewhere because his helicopter goes down, and then not 3 minutes later, it's announced he's been found, and as he has been found, is being announced, he walks in through the door. 3 minutes. What could have been a really interesting setup lasted exactly 3 minutes. In fact, I don't even think it lasted a full 3 minutes. Probably 2 minutes and 50 seconds. And here, you think, well, how is Deadpool gonna get his powers back? And then it's, oh, okay. Well, now he's Deadpool again. I guess the movie can continue. And the problem is that entire sequence leading up to that moment dragged down the film. It slowed it down to a dead crawl. And for what? For a throwaway, oh, how is he going to get his powers back? Really? And that seems to be a running theme in this movie. Throwaway. Everything is throwaway. One last thing that I do want to make sure I cover is the fact that there really isn't a bad guy per se, which I thought was brilliant. I thought that was a refreshing change of pace from every superhero movie. There is no real external conflict, so to speak. There's no big bad. All the real conflicts, the major conflicts, are internal. And I thought that was brilliant, genuinely brilliant. That was a ballsy decision on the part of the directors and the screenwriters. But the ostensible plot device, the MacGuffin of this movie, is the kid. I don't even know what the hell his name is. Russell, I think. Fire Fist, Flame Fist, Fist of Flame, something like that. I don't remember what the hell his name was. It was stupid. He was the most irritating character in the movie. He was unconscionably irritating. There was nothing likable about this character. In fact, you had exactly 5 minutes of screen time at the very beginning of the movie in which you sympathized with him. And after that, you really wanted somebody to shoot him. You genuinely wanted Cable to kill this kid, just to shut him the hell up. That is how bad of a character he is. He's just obnoxious. And yes, he, in a way, is a foil to Deadpool. He has a very similar personality. But whereas Deadpool and Wade Wilson are fun and energetic and happy-go-lucky and goofy, this kid, Russell, is just mean and obnoxious. And I mean, you can see what they say he's going to become, this big bad guy later on in life, and you can see it there. You genuinely can see it. You know, I guess the question is, it goes back to the old joke about, if you could go back in time and kill baby Hitler, would you kill baby Hitler? Well, if baby Hitler was this obnoxious, I can't possibly recommend this movie. Deadpool 2 is a mess of a movie, and it's a slap in the face to everything they accomplished with Deadpool 1. Was Deadpool 1 a great movie? No, but it was different. It was a refreshing change of pace. It was enjoyable. There's no point in that movie where I'm sitting there thinking, I hate myself for sitting through this movie. And truth be told, I didn't think that as I was walking out of Deadpool 2. It wasn't until I stopped afterwards in my car, in my driveway, and asked myself, why did I enjoy this movie? At that point, I realized I really didn't. It's enjoyable in the moment. And if that's all you want, you could do worse, I suppose. But it's a short-lived high. It's not a very good movie. Deadpool 2 kinda sucks.
Pomegranate.